am feeling digitally connected, man.
Like we need to have an understanding of what can happen, what can't happen, because you have to start with some of your strongest material.
Right. You are going to be one of the people that are going to get left behind. It's that simple. You
All right. Welcome to the Tech School Podcast, powered by DSDT. I'm Josh, man.
and I am Mr. Harris.
Mr. Harris, good afternoon.
Top of the day to you too, sir.
Yes, sir. How are things going here at DSDT on a lovely sunny afternoon?
Busy
late
one.
August.
This is a absolute busy one. The last few days have been super busy. I don't know. I'm almost to the point to where I was back in the early days of DSDT when I used to get so flustered and this cowgirl would take me away. So it has definitely been a busy one.
Well, you know what it is. You feel like you're back in the earlier days because you're back to normalcy.
Is that what it is?
I think that's what it is. Like you went a 2-3 year stretch of no one in the building. Things were a lot quieter.
Right. I kind of like it, or I missed.
So you want to go back to everyone working remotely?
Not everybody.
Yes,
just some people.
Oh man. So yeah. I mean, it's just you're back to normal.
Right.
That's what it means.
It's close. It's close. It's close to more normalcy, but at the same time, it's just there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You know, whether it be from staff or whether it be from students, it's just that it's always something. You know, and I feel as if. So I believe that people have a tendency to not see you as a person. If you and I'm sure you can understand, right?
Yes.
People see you every day on the news, whether it be at 4 a.m. or whatever time you're there, and they kind of build you up into something that when they meet you, they forget you're a person too. You know, so whether you are getting calls all day from family members, or you're in the work environment, you got staff you deal with, and then you have students. It's just I'm one person. I'm human.
Yes, you're human, and with any job, it's a busy day, man. It's a busy day, and that's why you do your job and then you go home.
Yeah, but see, that's the beauty of having a job, Josh.
Yes.
I don't have a job.
Oh yes, you are kind of in charge.
So I when I go home, this goes home with me 24/7, and very seldom am I allowed to fully unplug. And when I do, I promise you, there's something that's happening in the background that someone needs to get in contact with me so that we can do X, Y, and Z. So I'm still working on the fact of being able to just totally unplug from it.
Oh, it's still a place of higher learning. Therefore, you're always plugged in.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so tune back in next week when I say I love it.
Bingo.
Next week, right? Next week, I love it.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay, so
why don't we talk a little bit about what's happening? Let's start off with.
Let's talk. Thousands march to mark the 60th anniversary of MLK's "I Have a Dream" speech.
Right.
Yes, August.
True. Okay, so I don't know if it's just me, right? But it seems as if this came out of nowhere. You know, I had not heard that there was going to be a march, that there was going to be a celebration about the anniversary. I didn't hear any of that. So maybe it wasn't on 97.9, or maybe it was only on, I never heard any advertisement about this happening.
It's interesting you bring up this topic, because when the NAACP had their Fight for Freedom Fund dinner earlier this summer in June, the weekend of June 23rd, which marked the 60th anniversary of when King marched down Woodward to the former Cobo Hall and gave the original version of "I Have a Dream" speech before he delivered it in Washington, D.C. in August of that same year. It was the talk of the town here in Detroit. But alluding to your point of it hasn't been publicized, if you will, in national news I'm trying to recall. Have I heard much about it?
I didn't hear nothing about it until the day it happened.
Google or
listen. I was watching the news and I saw that they were out on the mall there in front of the Lincoln Monument, and all of a sudden I'm like, "What?" You know, because
I may have missed it. I may have missed it. I don't know.
Did you hear anything about it? Because you were in the news.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about the actual anniversary of the "I Have a Dream" speech.
See, that's what I'm talking
in
about.
Washington, D.C.
That's what I'm talking about.
No, I have not.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm not about.
Don't quote me on saying it hasn't been publicized, but I have not heard it. But again, alluding to your point, something this significant would be.
Think about it. Okay, so I went to the Million Man March.
Mm-hmm.
I was there.
Okay.
Talk to me. So these types of celebrations, I call it a celebration.
Absolutely.
I want to be there for. And had I known about it, I go everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I would have definitely made, and then it would have gave me an opportunity to see my cousin, in Washington.
The March, for example, was highly publicized.
Absolutely.
Leading up to
Absolutely, it was. You had guys coming out from everywhere asking you, where you going?
True.
You know, and so with this, it was as if it was under the radar. Now, don't get me wrong, there were thousands, tens of thousands of people there. So if there were tens of thousands of people, where have I been? Because I haven't heard nothing. I haven't seen it on my social media feeds, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, none of that, right? So I don't know. Wait a minute. Now that I think about it.
Oh, see, that's why I want to.
I gotta ask this.
That's why I stress. Don't quote us on saying
quote me.
Has not been
quote me.
Let me.
I gotta ask you a question.
Recall, look, back here in Detroit, we've dealt with storms in the past.
Right?
We've dealt with Amber Alerts.
Yeah.
We've dealt with our own significant news here in this region. Therefore, my attention was kind of elsewhere.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. Yes. But I'm going to ask what I want to know, because you guys know I'm very direct.
Yes.
I'm going to have to check and see, did somebody not send me my black card again? I'm just saying. Did I get my black card in the news? I mean, in the mail? Because at the end of the day, I should have been there. Had I known, I would have gone.
Okay.
So can someone either check for me? I don't know what organization was responsible for this, but I need to make sure that next time that the invitations go out, that I specifically get one. Now, you guys may not have sent one to Josh, and I don't believe that, because Josh is on the news every day, all day. So he should have gotten one as well. And if we didn't know that there was an anniversary going on for the "I Have a Dream" speech, then that's a problem.
Now, I am going to take a tiny drop of the heat. I mean, I should have thought about this, knowing that the 60th anniversary of the original version of the speech was highly publicized here in Detroit in June. And he eventually gave the known version in August that same year. So I kind of knew in June, the actual anniversary was coming, about a month and a half away, but then it did kind of slip away.
Yeah, but we do. Okay, so you knew the anniversary was coming. Did you know that there was going to be a march on Washington to commemorate the speech having been given there? Because I didn't know that. And that's all that I'm saying. You know, I would have had I known, I would have gone. You know, so if there's anyone out there that potentially may have some insight as to what happened, or, you know, where the it was being publicized, then, you know, let me know down below so I can comment as well, and we can get this thing figured out, because I don't want to miss the next one. I don't want to miss the 70th. I don't want to miss the 65th one. You know, so let me know so that I can make sure that I show up as well as those around me.
I did just do a quick Google. I did. I'm not seeing a lot of media outlets. NPR, New York Times, okay, CBS News, ABC News, okay, 2 days ago, okay.
But that's 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I need more notice than just the day up. I'm just saying. You got to give me some. If I got to be in DC for an event, I need more than just today is happening at 3:00.
I think part of the reality also, Karlos, includes we have a former president who is being indicted again.
Okay.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm not validating. I'm just saying that on a national scale, that is dominating the news coverage to a degree.
Okay, great.
A hurricane in Florida.
It dominates.
I'm not.
All right.
I'm not
All
validating.
right.
I'm just including.
All right. Yes. Well, I need somebody from.
Inclusion is key.
I need somebody to reach out to me and give me an explanation as to what happened. Why didn't somebody drop the ball? It wasn't advertised on my Facebook feed. I didn't get it nowhere, not in Google searches or nothing. I want to know what's going on within the community so that this never happens again. Simple as that. I'm just saying. Right. All right. So what about, you spoke just a minute ago about the hurricane?
Hurricane Idalia.
Absolutely.
At last check this morning when I was at work, it upgraded to a Category 1 hurricane. I believe it's expected to upgrade to a Category 3.
Okay.
By the time it makes landfall late tonight, late Tuesday evening, going into Wednesday morning.
Okay.
Ironically enough, we're at work and we're talking. It was still a tropical storm, and then meteorologist informed me, "Hey, it just got upgraded to a Category 1." That was around 5 o'clock this morning.
Okay.
So yeah, from my understanding, it's expected to upgrade it to a Category 3.
Okay, and I noticed also that yesterday, was it today? Is today the 29th?
Today is the 29th. Yes,
so
sir.
Today actually is the anniversary date of Hurricane Katrina.
Ooh.
It absolutely is. And so definitely our prayers and our thoughts are with everyone that's down in Florida right now as they're trying to prepare.
Another thing that's concerning about this hurricane season is the extreme heat we've been experiencing.
Yeah.
And the water has been described as a jacuzzi in Florida.
Yeah, I believe it. And
so whenever you have warmer water dealing with hurricanes, that increases the threat.
Yeah. Yeah, concern. I believe it.
So yeah, definitely thoughts and prayers to everyone in Florida. Hope it weakens, passes by quickly, as less damage as possible.
Yeah.
Prayers, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so many times we kind of get the bad brunt of the jokes as it is in regards to the weather, right? So Michigan is always cold. At least that's what the story is. Michigan is always cold. I don't want to come there because it's cold. Right? But we may be cold, but we don't get hurricanes.
That is true. That is true.
We don't get hurricanes, tropical storms, and wildfires. I mean, we haven't had any wildfires, right? We don't not any earthquakes of noticeable size or anything, so within that's a blessing within itself.
That is a blessing within itself. I mean, we did get a tornado last week. That was a tornado in EF1.
Oh, okay.
It was determined to be an EF1 tornado.
Okay. So that was the first tornado we've had down here in however long.
Oh yeah, however long. But I mean that's what we deal with in this region, in the Midwest. You deal with cold snowstorms, and you deal with occasionally severe storms that can develop into tornadoes.
Yeah.
So we still get our fair share of Mother Nature's strength.
Yeah. Absolutely. Also, now I don't know if you know anything about this, Josh, but I definitely wanted to have a conversation in regards to it. So there is this doctor. His name is Dr. Jeffrey Long. He's a radiation oncologist, and he's a founder of a research foundation called Near-Death Experiences.
Ooh, okay.
So his take is, after doing over 5,000 of these evaluations and working in the industry some 37 years, right? He's come to the conclusion that there is life after death.
Okay. Are we talking on a spiritual sense or scientific?
Scientifically. So the way he gauges it is that in every conversation that he has, the way that it's described, it's always pretty much the same. And it is so eye-opening. It's that it comes from even children 4 or 5 years old. They describe some of the similar experiences, and these experiences are whenever there's some sort of trauma, some sort of near-death experience, then the person's conscience always leaves the body. It either hovers the body or it's near the body. It can see everything that's going on around the body, but yet the person isn't conscious. So he said after, so many years of doing it and after all these cases, then he can say unequivocally that in fact this is taking place. What say you, Josh?
Okay. It sounds like you're saying this doctor is alluding to a belief that once a person passes on, their spirits, if you will, leaves their body but stays near their body indefinitely.
Well,
eternity. I mean,
no, not. He didn't say that.
Okay.
So first of all, in order for you to even be able to tell him about your experience, that means that you came back
from the dead.
It's near-death experience, not that you died and came back.
Near death. Okay.
There was a near-death experience that had your body lose conscience, and somehow that consciousness is hovering over or around and near to experience things that are still happening around the body.
Okay. And are these experiences consistent with the 5,000 people he has spoken with?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, his research is his research, and if he's laying out that he has conducted studies with more than 5,000 people who are pretty much telling him the same thing. Okay.
So one of the story, I mean, as the article goes, right? He says, and I quote, he says that no two NDEs, near-death experiences, are the same. But as I studied thousands of them, I saw a consistent pattern of events emerging in a predictable order. About 45% of the people who have an NDE, report an out-of-body experience. When this happens, their consciousness separates from their physical body, usually hovering above the body. The person can see and hear what's happening around them, which usually includes frantic attempts to revive them. One woman even reported a doctor throwing a tool on the floor when he picked up the wrong one, something the doctor later confirmed. So this intrigued me.
Why does it intrigue you?
Because I had it happen to me.
Oh.
I had a near-death experience happen to me when I was 18 years old. And it was so traumatic that my heart stopped. And as I lay there and the paramedics were working to revive me, I literally remember hovering over my body and looking down on them as they were working to revive me. And to see, hear some 30 plus years later, this doctor giving an account of something that I experienced gave me the goosebumps.
What happened to you? What led to that situation, if you don't mind sharing?
I absolutely don't have a problem sharing it. So my brother passed in, he passed April 15th of 1991. I was so distraught that I wanted to see my brother one more time. So I attempted suicide. I took some sleeping pills and I was dead set on dying that day. And when I came to, so I take all these pills, I came to, And lo and behold, I wasn't dead. And so I started to panic. So I got up and I called 911. And when 911, well, before they got there, I remember the operator telling me, is can you make it to the door? Because if they get there, they won't be able to get in. So I made it to the door, opened the door for him. And I remember the officer coming in and shining a light on me and saying, "Are you Karlos?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I don't want to die." Right.
Mhm.
And he was like, "I'm not going to let you go. I'm not going to let you die." And as I lay there waiting for the ambulance to get there, I I would assume I passed out,
Mhm.
you know. But what happened was I actually wound up because my heart stopped. They had to hit me with a defibrillator. And at that time is when I remember hovering over my body as they were trying to revive me, looking down on them working on me. Now, some might say, well, that could be attributed to whatever the drugs were you took. Possible. But if that's the case, then why do so many other people have similar stories to tell? And so that's kind of why all my life I have not been afraid of death.
Mm.
It's a thing, right? I'm not trying to get all gory and philosophical and all those things, but my belief and my take and spend on death is not what the average is because I have experienced it. I don't believe it just happens for naught. The loved ones that we've lost, to some degree, the consciousness is somewhere. I don't know. Don't ask me. I'm not Jesus. You know what I'm saying? I'm not Jesus, but I have my belief. So I don't have the same view as most that are afraid to die. If I can say it that way. I think that a lot of people get caught up in the headspace that I don't want to die. I don't want to go. But I tell you, it felt so euphoric. It felt like it was, the best experience that you could have had outside of the body.
So that's deep. That's deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the way I would say it is versus I don't want to die is value your life.
Of course.
Take value in your life because clearly we only have one life.
I
mean, on this on this planet, in this world. Clearly we only have one life in this world to live.
In this machine.
In this machine.
Right.
Clearly, therefore, value the life that you have.
Okay, so here's my spin to that. Here's my spin on that. Right.
How do you spin that?
I absolutely have to. I don't spin it necessarily.
You are Mr. Harris.
This is what I say to that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if not for that experience, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to have the conversation with those who have been teetering near that thought themselves. Mm-hmm. Right. I learned from that experience.
You mean those who have thought about taking their own
absolutely
lives? Okay.
Absolutely. Had I not experienced that, I wouldn't have value to give to the person that I'm speaking to as it relates to understanding how they're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally, I just had a conversation a few weeks ago with a young lady in the wee hours of a Sunday morning who was on the threshold of taking her own life just because of some things that were happening. So if I hadn't, I wouldn't have that value in the conversation to be able to say, look, I get it. Been there, done that. But I can tell you that is not your go-to. Mm-hmm. Had I succeeded when I was 18 years old, I wouldn't have gone on to experience some of the great moments in my life.
You wouldn't be a father.
Right? I wouldn't have the 4. I had the 1, my oldest boy, but I wouldn't have had the 4 after that. I wouldn't have gotten married to the best woman that a man could ever have in his life. I wouldn't be here at DSDT to bring the value and the experience that I have. Right? So those things mean something. Mm-hmm. So I often try to remind people that, sometimes we think that it's just about us. No, it's not. It's about the people that are coming after you.
Yes.
And what kind of value can you give to them along their life's journey? So I take heed in that. And I think that most of us really should, because it's really about the experiences you have to be able to connect with someone that others can't. Everybody can't talk to somebody that's on the brink of suicide. right? If you never tried it, sit down somewhere and let somebody that has talk to them. And it doesn't mean that I have to be standing here with my face almost blown off for you to understand that I carry that battle wound. You know, so, but anyways, I digress. I digress. You know, that was the article that I saw, and I thought, wow, let's have this conversation today because somebody needs to hear it.
Absolutely.
Right?
You would be surprised how many people need to hear it.
Absolutely. So along, I don't know, maybe not along that line. Why don't we just go ahead and bring on the person of the week that I definitely am looking and having a conversation with.
I mean,
it's time.
By the way, that's a heck of a 180.
Well, what? Matter of fact, we're just gonna bring on everybody. Bring it on, Amber Boone. Right?
Oh wait, yeah. Okay. You had me nervous. Like we were gonna see the AI. I want the real one.
Listen.
We have the real one.
Hold on. If this doesn't look like AI Amber, this looks just like
the real Amber Boone.
Amber, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh yeah, that's Amber.
I'm working on it. I am absolutely.
See that cadence?
Y'all had an interesting conversation before I jumped on.
What isn't that a heck of a 180?
You know what's crazy? I have had that happen during sleep paralysis, but never during my near-death experiences. So
wait a minute now. Hold on. What do you mean sleep paralysis? What does that mean?
Like I was sleeping, but it's like this moment where you wake up as your body's falling asleep. And so you're sleeping, but you're aware of everything that's going on around you. Same thing where you're hovering outside your body. You can see your body. You can see everybody around you, but you can't move. Even if you try to call out for help, you can't. Everything is paralyzed.
Hold on. Amber. All right. So this is like, I get goosebumps. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just because we creators, right? But so I have this thing. I've been having this thing since I was 2 weeks old. And the way that my mother tells it is that so I'm from down south. They said I had a fit, right? And I was in her arms at 2 weeks old. I wasn't breathing. She ran me into my grandmother. My grandmother resuscitated me, right? So throughout my life, I have always had what you have just described. Now, here's the thing. I actually did a sleep study. I actually had EKG EKG. I've done an MRI and all that. And you know what they say that my problem is? They have determined that I have what they call nocturnal epilepsy.
Okay.
Right. So they say the reason that I have those experiences is because I have a scar on the frontal lobe of my brain that causes me at times to have an experience to where I am asleep. And literally you could be asleep next to me and you would not know that I am going through kind of like a petit mal or a grand seizure. Yeah.
Wow. I've never had a sleep study done, but I've had that to have happened to me several times over the course of my life. And it's been very scary.
Yeah.
And we can get into the whole thing, but
See, so down south, and I know that some individual that listens to this can even, leave a comment down below. But see, down south, we have this thing, they call it where a witch is riding your back. Have you ever heard that phrase before, Josh? All right, so a witch is riding your back.
Okay.
You wake up, you're so frantic because you can't move. A lot of times you can't breathe. You're just there, and it's almost, if you're not trapped in the body, you're trapped outside the body. So the southern thing is, either you're having a fit or a witch is riding your back. But either way, it is one of the most scariest feelings that you could ever. And I've had numerous of them throughout my life.
Yeah.
So we can definitely have another conversation about that at a later day. All right. Thank you, Miss Amber Boone.
Perspective.
Right. All right. Why don't we just go ahead and why don't we get into the topic of today? Now, matter of fact, I just want to go ahead and cue it up from the show last week. You guys remember you said this? I think next week, Amber, why don't we just use your voice?
No.
Your image.
No.
To create an avatar.
No.
That can come and do your segment. But listen, hold on. She still gets paid for it because she's going to license that to DSPT to use next week. What do you think about that?
Are you serious? I mean, like, I'm interested to see if it could, because what I see is going to be someone, a picture of me like here talking, because I do a lot, and I don't think I listen.
Exactly.
There
we go.
I don't advocate this. I'm just saying.
Hold on now. Hold on. Be careful what you wish for, because there's actually video AI now that can even take it, regardless of the body, the face, or whatever, can take it and have it to say anything. We can do it. Let's do it for next show. All right. Now, I kind of stole my own thunder because I sent it to you guys last week because I was so taken aback at the realness of it. I can't use any other word but the realness of it. Okay, so first, Amber was saying that, because she imagined that it would pretty much just be a photo and it wouldn't necessarily be a lot of the interjections that she makes. So the first one that we came up with, of course, it was Amber AI.
Fake version of Amber. I'm absolutely thrilled to be on this podcast today, and there's something exciting on the horizon. Right after this, I'm heading off to get a women's haircut. So, it's a day full of exciting adventures, and I'm looking forward to sharing this journey with all of you.
So, Amber,
what is a women's haircut?
Yeah.
Amber, what is a women's haircut?
You know what it is.
Something that women never ask for.
A women's haircut.
A women's haircut.
So, Amber, when you first saw that AI Amber, what did you think?
I thought this is exactly what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. That one was exactly, stiff, just the eyes. Because don't get me wrong now, if you look again, those eyes were on flick.
The deep-fake version of Amber.
Look at them brows.
I'm absolutely thrilled to be on this podcast today, and there's something exciting on the horizon. Right.
So now, mind you, that photo was one. Now, let me say this. So, how did we create these AI avatars? First of all, the thought was that we would have Amber come to the school and we would get all of the content that we needed to do it. Right. Now, here's to me is even where the scary part in all this is. I didn't need her to come in for anything. Right. So Amber is my friend and we're connected on social media. So I was able to go into her profile and pull everything that I needed in order to build these avatars. So her face, Amber being the influencer that she is, she takes a shot everywhere she go because cha-ching, cha-ching, So all I needed was first a face, and I can actually pull it up for you guys to take a look at it. This was the face that I decided to go with. Let me pull it up right quick. Bam. And maybe I'll just make it a little bit bigger. Bam. So that is the screenshot of Amber's face, right? Looks like Amber, right? It is Amber. It's from her Facebook post.
Yeah.
Right. So once we had her face, it was about we had to have her voice. Right. So we needed her voice in order to do a clone of her voice. Now, Amber has a number of videos where it's like she sits in the car, she's doing this content, she does, these posts, clear, perfect audio. So once I'm able to download that video, pull the audio from it, I can put it into one of these voicifiers in order that it would create a clone of Amber's voice. And from that point on, I can get it to say what and everything that I needed to. So ultimately, what we ended up with, which you guys have already seen, but this was AI Amber and let her go ahead and do the segment for In Tech News.
Did you know Apple is apparently testing out a new ChatGPT-like AI bot? No, it's not all going to be AI, I promise you. But it is really trending in the news, and honestly, it's a big tech revolution, in my opinion. It's a lot, that's a strong word. But I do think it's going to really change our world. So there is AI-related news, of course. According to a new report that was released on Bloomberg, the tech giant has created a chatbot that some engineers are internally referring to as Apple GPT. Now, at first I was like, we don't need another chatbot. We've been there, we've done that. But I think a bit of competition is actually a good thing. What do we have now? Claude, Bard, ChatGPT, and now potentially Apple GPT. And in this report, it goes on to say that Apple has built their own framework that they labeled as Ajax, which is being used to create large language models. And apparently, Ajax runs on Google Cloud and was built with Google JAS, the search giant's machine learning framework. Now, Apple has really dominated in every area. Well, okay, there's been a few they haven't, that they get into. I'm very curious to see, will they be the king of these chatbot AI wars? It seems like every company right now is fighting for number one. I think competition will be a really good thing, though, meaning that it will hold each company to a higher standard, and may the best chatbot win.
So, now, my question...
I'm heading off to get a women's haircut.
Not you. Not you. To the real Amber. Amber, now that you saw the technology, what say you?
That was scary. That was because the voice, the inflections, like it, I hold on to my words. Sometimes there's certain things that the AI got down really, really well.
Of course. The way you say, of course. I caught that.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta listen back for it.
That one caught me. It's like, yeah, she does say, of course, in that tone.
Listen, when I got done with it, I can't lie, because I was up at like 4 a.m, trying to make sure that we had the best example of this technology for you guys. And I can tell you, when I got done, I thought, shit. I was
made me strongly consider getting a women's haircut, though, because the way her hair is, I like it. I'm like, maybe I should cut my hair.
Women's haircut.
But so just think. Now, we're doing this for all intents and purposes, just for education.
Yeah.
But think of all of the ways that this technology could be used. Now, mind you, it's not built in the same way that the first AI model is. This is actually what you call a deep fake, right? So underneath all that Amber and her hands moving and everything, the only thing that you use for that video is Amber's face, that cut out of her face, and her voice. Now, everything that was said, well, first of all, the video is of another actress, right? And once you have that actress as a model, you can take Amber's face or anybody's face and customize it for that model along with whatever the model said. Now that we have a clone of Amber's voice, we can replicate whatever was said in that video within precision. So at the end of the day, I mean, to the unsuspecting viewer, it's Amber.
Wow.
Yeah. So again, speaking about, or talking about what we were saying last week, the technology is already there. Now, these are the first generations of these tools. The first. Imagine where they will be in another 18 months, 5 years.
We're looking at the prototype.
Come on, Josh. And we've had this discussion.
Yes, we have.
Remember we did a model of you a few months ago. What happens when the news station says, to hell with it, we're not going to pay Josh another $2 million a year when we can get these creators to come in here, probably just need 2 of them, and we can do the evening news every night of the week without Josh.
Sounds like I better make my $2 million ASAP and stack that up.
Well, I mean, but seriously, this is where we are. This is where we are. So when the conversations are like, oh, so many are going to lose their jobs, and we're trying to protect human rights, and yeah.
Well, okay. With that being said, this strike, this is one of the reasons why the strike is so important, because residuals from artificial intelligence.
Yeah. I think
because name, image, likeliness.
Yeah. And mind you, now I don't know if you got a chance to, but I actually sent you over some videos and songs from your Tupacs, your Biggies, and your DMXs, Nate Dogg's. They're all gone, and yet there are individuals that are making music with their likenesses. As of right now, the laws haven't caught up with it.
But it will eventually.
It has to. Because you think otherwise, I can make a Michael Jackson song right now that goes YouTube platinum.
I mean, that YouTube link you sent me of Drake's AI
sound exactly like Drake.
It did sound like Drake.
Exactly like Drake. And if you're a Drake fan, then you can listen to it in the same vein that you listen to headlines. Some of his first original material.
Yeah.
Tupac. If you were a fan of Tupac and you listen to some of this AI stuff, it's like, hold on, Tupac is back. So therein kind of lies a lot of, you would say, I don't necessarily want to say that it's a scary thing, but it's an evolution.
Again, with anything, there has to be rules and regulations.
It has to be. I don't know if I necessarily want them. Right.
But it has to be.
So I see this, and I'll constantly say this until the day that we have an AI that can create simply based on what it wants. And that's the difference. As of right now, these tools only do what humans want them to do. So in order for me to get a deep fake Amber, I have to create it. Now I use the tools, but the tools are not doing it on their own. So until the point that we reach that consciousness, that artificial general consciousness, then they're simply tools, right? They're tools to aid and abet you in doing whatever it is that you need them to do. And that is where I want DSDT to be pivotal. We need a place to where we can go and be trained to use these tools as best as we can within our industries. And we're going to kind of talk about some of that as we bring on here shortly our guest in regards to where he sees a lot of this, because he does graphic design. Graphic design is over with. We don't need graphic design. We don't need graphic designers no more, y'all. I'm just saying, we don't. And all the more reason why you have Amber last week was saying that, can we just get paid, for the content that we are creating now? Because eventually, okay, we pay you now. We don't need you creating any more content. I mean, literally, whether you guys know it, there is a platform right now. I just showed it to Marco the other day. It's called ai.nvideo.io. Now, this AI platforms allow you to do what they call text to film, not text to video, text to film. You give it a prompt, it will structure a script. It will use a voice overlay. And at the end of the day, it will create you a 30-second to 1 hour long film.
Okay.
Film. I'm not saying a little 10-second video clip. I'm saying an hour-long film. So who needs you to go out and shoot anymore for what content to come out next week at a movie theater? Who needs that? Now, of course, the platform isn't where it's going to be again in 18 months, 3 years, 5 years. It's not. These are the first adaptations. But at the end of the day, this is where some of these geniuses are already thinking. So you can only imagine what our next version of entertainment is going to be. Consuming of information is going to be. I mean, it's just going to be totally different than the way we see it today. Just saying, it is what it is.
You seem the only one. You're kind of alone in this one.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, right? I'm okay in the sense that How will they know unless you tell them?
Uh-huh.
Sometimes we have to be educated about the next greatest, because a lot of us we're not even drawn to that as of right now. And that's okay. I am every day using these tools to some degree, trying to get the best out of these models so that I know for a fact the information that I'm giving you is 100% accurate. You know, I had actually an individual the other day reach out to me and was like, Karlos, I need to come sit with you for about a day. Please come. Because I need everybody to understand how you can utilize these in order to get to your next phase of your journey.
Well,
And for
I will say, Karlos, that after our last podcast and after you creating the AI version of me, I had a consultation with a client regarding social media, and they have a hard time getting in front of the camera. It's not really their thing. And so I encouraged them, instead of doing it themselves, to use AI. And I showed them the videos and I gave them the tools and was like, here you go. Go create AI you and start putting content out using. So you made a look. I know that's a proud moment for you. I had to share it.
Thank you so much. But think about that though, Amber. But think about it. So here we're talking about these AI tools. This becomes another service that a year ago you weren't offering, but now you can, right? So the avatar that we showed you first, the AI Amber, this one, right? This one here. Okay, anybody can do that within 5 seconds. Anybody can do it. I give you that one for free. This one here, though, this is the one. This is the one.
No.
This is the one that I'm going to charge you a lot to do it for you. I'm going to charge you a lot to do it. So this is a service right now that every creator cannot do. They don't even know how to do it or even where to begin to do it, right? So if you're the person who doesn't like to get in front of the camera, I got you. We can make a deep fake of you. We just need your face. Matter of fact, I don't need you to give me anything. Just pay me. If I can go, seriously, I can go straight. I can scrape with social media, get everything that I need, and have something ready for you tomorrow.
Wow.
You know, so again, it's just, just the way you're looking at these tools and how you might be able to leverage them to do X, Y, and Z in your daily life. So thank you, Amber. I don't need no more clients. Amber, I want to tell you that we really do appreciate you. Thank you for allowing us to take time and have fun doing this. I hope that someone that listens to this podcast, because I actually got a couple calls last week. I got one from North Carolina. I got one from Florida that was listening to the podcast last week. And they were talking how we were spot on and everything, and just a few things that we discussed. But for anyone that might listen to this later on, I would hope that you are using these tools as much as I am, and I have Marco up front in order to create this content, because the day is coming when you have to have it. And if you don't have it, somebody's going to have your job. I'm just telling you like it is. All right. Amber, thank you. Appreciate you once again. We look forward to seeing you next week. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Bye. So what happens when we bring AI Josh back?
Oh my goodness. Do we want to play with that?
We bring AI Josh back and we'll have him doing the news around.
Oh my goodness. Hey.
Oh man. Maybe I need to bring my avatars back. I just need to bring my headshots back. I'm just saying. Listen, we are going to have in a minute bring up. We're going to be bringing up Mr. Stephen Franklin. Okay. Stephen Franklin is our special guest. The reason I wanted him to come today is real simple. One, he has definitely a lot of insight. He's been in the graphic design, multimedia world for quite some time now. And at the same time, my belief is that a lot of these skills are not going to be needed, or they're going to be transitioning how they are needed in the real near future.
Okay.
And I just wanted him to come on and give his perception of it. Stephen actually, and also used to be an instructor at DSDT.
Right
he was
on.
one of our founding instructors for our graphic design program. All right, so why don't we go ahead and bring on Mr. Stephen Franklin, everybody. How are you, Mr. Franklin?
Wonderful. How are you?
I just had a thought. Are you, and I'm serious, are you related to Benjamin Franklin?
You know, doing some research, that might be a possibility.
It might be possible, Karlos.
It might be possible.
You know how things went down back in the day.
Yeah. What about Franklin Delano Roosevelt?
Nah.
I'm sorry, Stephen.
That's okay.
No. This is my man. This is my man. Stephen and I go way back. Like I say, Stephen used to be an instructor here at DSDT, and he's continued to help us grow along the way. If you've seen a lot of the graphic design work around here, Stephen is responsible for it. Mm-hmm. Stephen has the company Motorcity Media Group. Okay. Absolutely.
Ooh, where'd you dig that up at?
I know, because come on now. I know my stuff. I'll do my job. Just let me do my job.
Well, with that being said, Karlos and Stephen, tell us more about Motorcity Media Group. I want to learn more about that right off the bat.
So I founded Motorcity Media Group about 13 years ago, because I saw a need, particularly for small businesses, particularly other small Black-owned businesses that really needed some type of assistance with understanding what the marketing aspect was, visualization tools and things of that nature. And unfortunately, they just did not have the exposure. So with me being from a corporate background, I was able to bring some of that insight to them at a lower price point and get them the results that they needed as a business. So a couple of my friends who we were previously separated from the automotive industry, we just kind of put our heads together and start offering these creative services to people. And we start working in the nonprofit sector, again, working with smaller businesses to help with their marketing and their visualization and other products that they had. Mm-hmm. So we've been doing that for a while. So I move in and out of the spaces sometimes, but I'm one of those people that I'm a seeker of information, mm-hmm. Because I believe there's like the next generation of creativity comes along. We, particularly people of color, need to kind of get on board with some things because we're often left behind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like the way you said that too. And a lot of times, I don't get on rodeos, but I like the way that you say that because, like I say, I often say this. My mother, 67 years old, she doesn't have, if not for me, an email account. Mm-hmm. She doesn't have an email account.
Karlos, my mother's 87 and she has one.
Oh, so that's what I'm talking. So the point is, within our community, we don't take a hold or gravitate towards the technology as it's been made available to us in the early days.
And we're talking about the basics at this point.
Basics. This is, come on now. Email
ABC
address.
1, 2, 3.
An email address.
And we're still suffering from the basics because when you think about it, when we had the pandemic, there's this concept called the digital divide. And it was very apparent when everybody had to go online to start doing their school instruction. Mm-hmm. Because you realize that you had households that didn't have internet, households that didn't have computer systems, right? Mm-hmm. And I've always been a strong advocate of, if you have the ability to buy your child a video game console, you have the ability to buy your child a computer.
Yeah.
Because in the world that we and our children have to be competitive, we have to have every tool possible, but sometimes the priorities get misplaced. And it's not necessarily the focus because we tend to focus on what's in front of us versus what's going to be further ahead of us.
Absolutely. You reminded me of a moment with my cousin Nicholas. I was maybe 12, 13 at the time, and I asked him, what should I buy, a pair of Jordans or a Grant Hill basketball jersey? And his answer was a calculator.
Why? A calculator?
A calculator.
What? Explain that to me.
Well, again, we're just talking about the basics. The basics of technology. At one point, a calculator was considered a piece of technology.
Absolutely. So rather than you get
alluding to Stephen's point, thinking about what's in front of us, we in the Black community, we do that more often.
Yeah.
We think about what's in front of us. Ooh, a slick pair of Jordans, a cool Grant Hill jersey back when he played for the Pistons, versus a calculator that's going to teach you how to do your work so you can pass your class and pursue your education and see what happens down the line. But see, that's not in front of us. The pair of Jordans, the Grant Hill jersey, that's in front of us.
Yeah. I get it. So did you get the calculator?
I did.
My man. What's 2 times 73?
Oh, shoot.
Give him the calculator.
I think it's 75. I think. Let me add it up real quick.
So, Stephen, why don't you explain to us? I know you say that you were early on at General Motors.
Yeah, I was at Ford and I was at General Motors, and I was in that space of everything starting to go digital. Back in the day, they used to do their drawings, designing of cars, markers, pens, pencils, color pencils, chalk, whatever. Digital tools got into play. You started doing everything on the computer. Same thing with the clay models. You used to be able to just sit there and do it by hand, but then all of a sudden you started being able to digitize it, and then the CAD software came into place, and then you start building everything on the computer. And at some point there was this conversation as to this could take over clay modeling. This could take over drawing and design. So for me, it's like I want to be in that space that when it transitioned, I knew about the what we'll call, let's say, the analog version of something and then the digital version of something. Because for me, it was like I want to be valuable, but I also need to be able to embrace this transition. Because when it happens, I want to be ready. And so when I started looking at other aspects within the design programs, when they started making 3D models, and all of a sudden we were doing 3D printing. They had been doing 3D printing back in 2000. But now I think my first interaction with DSDT is that you guys had 3D printers, and like, okay, we need to figure out how to make these things work. I just jumped in and did it. And we start scanning people and start printing out people. It was like, this is the new technology. And it's been around. It's always around to me in other industries that have the money to do it. And they'll just test it, and they'll experiment, and they'll refine it, and they'll test it, and they'll refine it. And then when it gets to general population or it gets to the masses, all of a sudden there's this rush to embrace it. But we also got to understand that they're already working on something else, right? They were doing virtual, virtual reality stuff, right? We used to sit there and we would design our cars in CAD, and we would watch them on giant screens, and we would rotate the models around to get a feeling of what this looks like before we started making the models. Well, that's the visualization back, 15, 20 years ago. And now we've improved the technology to where we can get it done a little bit faster. So there's always this thing of saying we have to learn as a people to kind of stay ahead of technology, but we have to know what that technology is.
Oh, wow. Powerful. So when you say that you were learning from analog to digital, about how long ago was that?
Let's see. I think I had just finished my, I was at Wayne State, and I just finished up my bachelor's degree. And my teacher had this program. He was like, hey, I want you to try this out. He said, we got this electrostatic tablet. We got this pen. I want you to draw some stuff. I'm like, okay. And it was expensive, but I started drawing, I started sketching, and I treated it just like pen and paper. But I was like, oh man, these tools are wonderful. I went to grad school, and I remember doing one of my papers on, the digital age, and really challenging fine art students to say, you can make a painting. I can make your same painting using digital tools, and I can give you 15 variations of your painting in
before you draw
the next one, and I can print them 5 different ways on 18 types of paper. What do you want to do?
So this is my whole point. You seem to be making the whole argument for me as it relates to artificial intelligence tools now, right? We have another evolution, if you will, of your particular industry, graphic design period. And so there was a time when everything was done in analog, it was done on paper, and then we were able to go digital. Now at the cusp of another age, how do you see these tools, or do you welcome them as much as you did the digital age when you were in the throes of learning?
I treat them as tools, right? One of the old heads explained to me, everything that you have is a tool. If it's by hand, if it's by a computer, it is a tool. It is a method in which you make it part of the process, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is how you get it done. Which is the fastest way to get it done? If you want it fast, you have it this way. If you want it accurate, you have it this way. Depends on what is called for. So in doing graphic design now, not only am I challenged with dealing with a younger competition who have embraced the digital tools, the one thing I found was that a lot of them never been formally trained.
Preach,
right?
preacher.
So
Preach, preacher.
the fact that I can sit there and say I can sketch out an idea, and there's some people who can't write their name, but they do wonderful graphic visual stuff, but they can't tell you how to get there, or they may not understand the market. So for me, in order to survive in this industry, I found the nuance of personal service, being on time, those core things that make a business a business. You know, there's tons of free programs out there that do the same thing that I pay for and use. But if you don't understand the tool, if you don't understand how it works, if you don't understand the benefits, it doesn't have life, right? So I try to offer that. And then when we start talking about AI, and they're saying, well, you know, you with AI, you can create a logo with AI. Yeah, but do you have that certain interface and that nuance that will make your design a little bit different, or will it look like it was AI? Right? So what personality do you add to it? And so when I think about my experiences, like I said, I started in product design, went to automotive, went to sculpture, went to CAD. I went to a variety of different things. But in those things, I learned a little bit of everything. I would create presentations that were at a higher level than most people because I understood who my audience was. And so my thing was, if I'm going to design something, I'm designing for the audience. I'm not going to have a bunch of people sleeping during my presentation because it was about what I wanted. It was like, I want to reach my audience because my audience is important. So with all of that, I take all those experiences and I kind of put them together and say, okay, this is how I'm going to structure my graphic design. These are things I'm going to consider, right? Because most people who come to me say, I want to do this. It ain't about you. It's about your customer.
So
you can't get that with AI.
Okay, so for the individual that's on the other side of this and they are considering taking a graphic design class or a design class or whatever, in the face of the tools that we have available as opposed to when you were getting started back 45 years ago, what would you say to that individual as they're considering maybe, you know, like I really love primary case. I have a good friend. He has a 16-year-old daughter. She draws like you wouldn't even Stan Lee or somebody, right? And at the same time, I wonder if that industry is there as she begins to want to get into it.
Are you asking, Karlos, in today's world, as AI continues to evolve, as technology continues to evolve, are we asking what is the starting point, particularly right now?
Yeah, I can, in the simplest terms, yeah.
Like for me, like the example I use, like a calculator when we were kids,
right.
That was a piece of technology.
I got a calculator for Christmas one time. I thought it was the best thing I ever got. I mean,
so like what is the starting point now?
Right.
To me, the starting point is learning to think for yourself.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, because the thing is, I had this conversation with my fiance the other day. I was like, you know how many people don't really read anymore? When was the last time you actually opened up a book that's got like 400 pages and went cover to cover for 2.5, 3 hours?
Right. Yeah.
Right. How many people actually do that? Well, people don't understand, to me, is the correlation between language, reading, and speech. They all reinforce each other. And it also allows you to think logically. It allows you to imagine. it allows you to put yourself in another place of which you ordinarily may not go.
It allows you to comprehend.
Right. It's tried and true. My mother told me today, I can tell you about things that happened to me back 1936, 1937, 1940. And I've already lived through all of that. And I'm still standing. You can always ask me how to get from point A to point B because I've already done it.
Right.
Right. And some of it is just logic. Some of it is just learning. Some of it is just retaining information and documenting certain things. There's just some tried and true practices that you have to have. So I would tell people, focus on those as your foundation. And then you'll learn how to use the tools. You become coordinated to use the tools. Because when you think about what AI is a system of, to me, is a system of information that has been collected. And when you ask for it, it puts it together for you. But you have to know what to ask for too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to know what the end result is going to be.
Right. Yep. But along with what Mr. Franklin was saying, if you haven't read a 400-page book in the recent days or months, make sure that you go out and get yourself AI Prompt Engineer from Karlos Harris, yours truly, the must-have artificial intelligence skill set. I'm just saying you might want to go get yourself a piece, and actually, I would love to have you give me a review on my Amazon page. Just saying. All right. Thank you very much. All right, Stephen. So what, for those that are interested in graphic design moving forward, do you see as, like I do, I think that actually they get to the point to where they're not even needed? I hate to say that to the person that's a graphic designer with a company that's built around graphic designs, but what say you?
I think that everybody has its place, has its position, has its role. I think the more you diversify your business offerings, the more that you have a greater ability to pivot as things change, because COVID showed us that. That you can survive through it. It's just how you use the tool, and can you use the tool better than the next person? Can you bring in AI as a tool to help you become more and more productive to get stuff done faster, right? Because the people that grab it and gravitate and use it first are going to be the ones that are going to be more successful at it and have that experience with it, versus those who are going to have that awkward moment. Like I said, we as people of color, sometimes we're just now getting into certain things. But it's like if we're not getting into it 2023, technology that's been used in 2018, what's going to happen now? You're trying to keep from being left behind. Like I said, we talk about the digital divide. You got to close the gap.
You can do it.
That's what I'm talking about. Because I believe wholeheartedly you're absolutely correct. We have to get more of our communities involved and ready and able to use the tools. As a graphic designer, like I can remember the days of print shop. Print shop was back in the 90s, if you remember that as well, right? Print shop was the early 90s, and that was before your Adobes, Illustrators, Photoshop, and After Effects. And now the tools that I'm looking at, they are the next iteration of those tools. Ultimately, what do I need Photoshop and Illustrator and all those things for? Now I can use them, right? Because I'm well crafted, as Stephen is. I'm well crafted to be able to utilize those to make whatever the creation a lot better, right? But in a minute, you're not going to need any of that stuff because they're time consuming at that. It just literally overnight things have changed, and I am ready to see how much we can actually get out of these tools in order to make our lives, our production, our work that much easier. Stephen, my man, I want to say thank you. I appreciate you once again for taking out a busy time of your schedule to come on and kind of give us some insight about what's going on in your industry. If there was a prediction you had to make, what would it be before I let you go?
Get ready.
Okay, y'all heard what he said. He said,
Get ready.
Get ready. What are we getting ready for? Get ready.
Evolution.
Get ready for the evolution of these tools. Stephen, my man, we appreciate you, and I look forward to talking to you again. All right.
All right. Will do.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate
Bye.
Good stuff. Much thanks to Steven, Amber, as always, AI Amber, courtesy
Amber.
of Mr. Harris putting that together.
AI Amber.
Yes. Hey, get ready. And I like one point, we really didn't touch on it, but what he said, they are always working on something else. Something else is always being worked on.
Yeah.
You always have to keep that in mind.
Yeah. They're already so many years ahead of where we are as a consumer, and we really just don't know, and probably would be blown away by the next iteration of all these tools.
Yes.
And which at the same time, that may be all the more reason why you have individuals like Elon and Mark Zuckerberg that have just been asked to go to Capitol Hill to speak as it relates to artificial intelligence. So I'm eager to see what becomes of all that. But at the end of the day, I have to believe that all of this is for our good. So whatever that looks like, it's going to be for our good. All right. So Josh, thanks once again. Go ahead and take us home.
Yes, sir.